Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in less than 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. Thank you so much for listening. Today, we're talking about President Trump's new disclosure and a school shooting avoided, plus a blockchain phone, a Whole Foods discount, and cereal on TV. All that and much more in less than 10 minutes. And hang out today after the news for 3 Question Thursday. We are talking about the volcano eruptions happening right now in Hawaii, what's causing it, what to expect next, and the biggest misconceptions.
You're also not going to sink into the lava like Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
I'm Erica Mandy. Today is Thursday, May 17th. You ready? Let's do this. For the first time, President Trump revealed in an official government disclosure that he reimbursed his personal lawyer for expenses, apparently including the hush money to Stormy Daniels. The Wall Street Journal reports the 2016 payment was just put in a new financial disclosure this week and was not in any past disclosures. For that reason, the Government Ethics Office flagged the payment and passed it on to the Justice Department, so it could be investigated. But some lawyers are saying it's a referral at this point. It doesn't mean there was actually any wrongdoing. Remember, this is that payment of $130,000 to the adult film star whose real name is Stephanie Clifford. She says she had an affair with Trump and was then paid to keep quiet right before the election. Trump has denied the affair, and in the past, he said he did not know about the payment. Today, some lawmakers in the House will try to get a vote on the issue of net neutrality. They want to keep it in place and disapprove of the new FCC rules that will get rid of it. But it'll be an uphill battle for them. There probably won't be enough votes, and President Trump probably won't go for it anyway. Yesterday, the Senate did vote and passed a resolution that would roll back the FCC's efforts to get rid of net neutrality. Senators who voted for the resolution say if nothing else, they hope this at least puts the issue at front and center for voters in November. Remember, net neutrality rules require all internet providers treat all online content the same way. So, for example, an internet provider would have to give the same speed for the same price to a small blog or a big company. It doesn't matter. Net neutrality rules were put in place during Obama's presidency, and supporters say it keeps everything online fair. But now the FCC is repealing it, getting rid of those rules, saying they were a serious overreach of government and stifle innovation. Assuming that the FCC can move forward with the repeal they're working on now, the U.S. will say goodbye to net neutrality on June 11th. There's a massive cloud of ash and toxic steam erupting from the Kilauea volcano on the Big Island of Hawaii, reaching 12,000 feet up in the air. The red alert is still in effect, telling airplanes to stay away. It's also caused a lot of dangerous volcanic smog, known as VOG. And now more earthquakes, too, measuring up to 4.4 magnitude yesterday. But so far, this is not the explosion officials have been warning about, one that could send huge rocks into the air and send small rocks and ash as far as 20 miles from the crater. That, officials say, would be the big one. CBS News reports they're still worried about it. But it hasn't happened yet, at least as of early this morning. We talk more about what could cause the big one and what's happened so far in today's 3 Question Thursday interview after the news. A school resource officer is being called a hero. He confronted a gunman at a Central Illinois high school yesterday morning and stopped him. Police say it may have saved a lot of lives. Time reports the 19-year-old suspected gunman had fired some shots near the school gym and later toward the officer. He was shot and wounded, but is expected to live. No one else was hurt. Michigan State University has agreed to pay what the Wall Street Journal says is one of the largest settlements for victims of sexual abuse. $500 million split among more than 300 victims. These are the girls that were abused by Larry Nassar. Remember, Nassar is the former USA Gymnastics team doctor who was also employed as the sports medicine doctor at Michigan State. He pleaded guilty to several counts of sexual abuse and other charges and was sentenced to 200 years in prison. Well, victims have said the abuse was reported and ignored by the university. Michigan State put out a statement that said it was truly sorry to the survivors and their families, but some are questioning whether or not the university will really end up paying it. They want to know how will it actually afford it, and bankruptcy could still potentially be an option. But CNN reports it'll pay the money out of pocket, then sue the insurance company to get the money back. We'll see. All right, other things people may be talking about today. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg just RSVP'd, yes, to talk with the European Union's governing body. They want to ask questions about the whole Cambridge Analytica controversy that caused privacy concerns earlier this year. Recode reports the meeting with the EU regulators will be private, so not quite the public event that we saw in the US back in April. Keep in mind, Zuckerberg has turned down calls for him to come and talk with regulators in the UK. Instead, it seems he's going with the broader choice to talk with the EU. Word is he could go and chat with the team as soon as next week, but the date isn't quite set yet, to be continued. Another company gets on the blockchain bandwagon. You know, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. This time, it's to make a blockchain-powered smartphone. The Verge reports HTC is the company, and the Android phone will be called Exodus. So what makes it a blockchain phone? TechCrunch explains it this way. It'll have security and cryptocurrency support, meaning it'll support major players like Bitcoin with a virtual wallet, a secure phone, and decentralized apps. So basically, everyone with Exodus will have a network for trading amongst themselves without some extra fees. The price is TBD, but another company has also said it's coming out with something similar this October that will cost about $1,000. We've heard this could happen, but now it's getting put into place. Amazon Prime members, you will be getting an extra 10% off at Whole Foods. Florida peeps, you get it first. The discounts are in place now at Whole Foods stores in Florida. Then the 10% off for Prime members will go national this summer. To take advantage, Tech Insider says you'll have to either scan a Whole Foods app at checkout or use a phone number that's linked to your Amazon account. Remember, Amazon does now own Whole Foods. Also of note, Amazon says it's launching more of its cashierless stores called Amazon Go. It started in Seattle, but now more stores will be coming to Chicago and San Francisco. Inside Amazon Go, you use a smartphone app to scan the items you buy, and then you just leave. No checkout lines. If you were a fan of the popular podcast Serial, listen up. Get ready for a documentary. Yes, Variety reports the documentary will be called The Case Against Adnan Syed. It'll be on Sky in the UK and HBO in the US. Both the podcast and the new documentary look at the 1999 disappearance and murder of an 18-year-old high school student, and it looks at the case against her ex-boyfriend who was convicted of the crime. The podcast first put that case against him in question, and today he's waiting for a new trial. The 4-hour documentary will apparently have new info and be looking at today's situation as well. HBO hasn't said yet when it will air. Stay tuned. And that's it for the main news today, but it's now time for 3 Question Thursday, where we get a bit more information about a different news topic from a different expert every Thursday. This week, we are talking with a volcanologist about Kilauea volcano on the Big Island of Hawaii. She breaks down why these eruptions are happening, why people live in those risky areas in the first place, and some of the biggest misconceptions about volcanoes. Dr. Shannon Kobs Nawotniak is a volcanologist at Idaho State University. She has researched lava flows and ash deposits from volcanoes around the world, and she studies them using a combo of fieldwork, computer modeling, and lab analysis. She's even been studying the Kilauea volcano we're talking about today in partnership with NASA to do simulated manned missions to Mars. There are apparently a lot of similarities with Kilauea and Mars. She was out of the country when we spoke, so you might notice a few times she cuts out, but it doesn't last. So here's my conversation with Dr. Shannon Kobs Nawotniak. Shannon, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. It's great to chat with you.
So can you explain the difference between how Kilauea is normally erupting and the lava that we see there versus what's happening now over the last 2 weeks?
Normally, Kilauea has a lava lake that's up at Halemaumau Crater. It's up at the Visitor Center. It's a famous location that people go to visit. They fly by it in helicopters and look down. And it's just a really big hole in the ground with continuous lava boiling over and just in this pit. And it's spectacular and beautiful. But what's going on right now is that further down the side of the volcano, we've actually stretched the surface up. We've opened up this crack, and that's allowing the magma to rise up much further over, and it's coming up inside the neighborhoods. It's actually creating new vents through these cracks, which is outside of normal park boundaries, and it's hitting communities that would otherwise be totally fine.
Just to be clear, it's not coming from the summit. It's actually coming from kind of the sides of the volcano?
Yeah, the lava isn't coming out from the summit at all. The lava at the summit is actually going down, and that's actually a concern that it could actually, by going down, trigger some explosions up there. And what's happening at the summit is that as the lava lake keeps going down and down, there's going to be an opportunity that it could go below the level of the groundwater. And if that happens, we're going to start getting water oozing from the sidewalls of that crater and hitting the top of that lava lake surface. So if we take all that water and we dump it on top of the lava lake, we'll actually cause it to explode. Expect the plume would be able to go, tens of miles. It'll rain down ash and small rocks. The nice thing is that the biggest rocks, and we're worried we could have rocks as big as refrigerators come out of the volcano. Those biggest ones aren't going to go nearly as far. Maybe people have seen the kids' movie Journey to the Center of the Earth with Brendan Fraser, but they actually use that as how they escape from the center of the Earth. Is they release groundwater onto the magma, and it causes a steam explosion that blows them out of the volcano. And what we're worried about is actually the real-life version of that happening.
As an expert on this subject, when you see what's already happened and what could happen, what do you think about? What goes through your mind?
It's hard as a volcanologist to look at something like this because on one side, my science side is just fascinated. It's beautiful. It's powerful. It's an opportunity to better understand how the Earth works. But this particular event is happening in a residential area. There are people's homes that are being destroyed. And so, from my non-science side, from my person side, it's just really tragic to see that and to wonder in this case, there's nothing we can do to prevent that. But wondering, could we even learn something about this that might be able to help someday in the future?
Do people, when they move to those areas, understand that this is a risk? And if so, why do you think people still live there?
A lot of times people think of Hawaii and they assume that everybody in Hawaii is very wealthy. These are vacation homes, things like that. And that while there are definitely parts of Hawaii that are like that, this isn't that. This is more of a working class neighborhood. And probably the land was more affordable there than it was in other places. Everything I've heard indicates that the people who live there were aware that it was a risk, but normally the odds of it happening are low enough that you're probably going to be safe for the duration of your own lifetime. And so they took that risk. It was a place they could afford. It was a place that they could live. And unfortunately, the volcano isn't actually paying off on that risk.
What's the biggest misconception that you find about volcanoes and what's happening in Hawaii right now?
A lot of people get their ideas about volcanoes from the movies. It's actually enough of a common thing that I actually will do a seminar series sometimes about geology in the movies to be able to address that. People think that the lava is going to be runny enough that we can divert it or that we can pour water on it or things like that to be able to protect houses. And that's really fueled by Hollywood wishful thinking and we in the movie to be able to solve it and be able to protect the people. And unfortunately, that means people are sometimes very, very upset and disappointed when it turns out that that's not actually real. You're also not going to sink into the lava like Gollum in Lord of the Rings. It's very dense material, and it's part of what's giving it that power that prevents us from being able to stop it or divert it.
How long might this last? What's the future look like?
Other lava flows that we've had in the last decades at Kilauea have lasted anywhere from sort of days, weeks, maybe even a couple of months. And I know that saying a couple of months just sounds awful, and we all hope it will be a short one.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all the good information.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And of course, we'll be keeping you informed as things change and get updated in Hawaii. In fact, you can find links to articles in today's show notes about all the news stories we talked about today, so feel free to read more about any of it. Just go to thenewsworthy.com, click episodes, and find today's date. The Newsworthy is ready for you by 4 a.m. Eastern Time every weekday, so be sure to subscribe and share these episodes with your friends. Thanks so much again for listening. I will be back with more news tomorrow. Have a great day.